Poverty in California has many facets, some institutional, some historical, but what poverty essentially is the lack of something important and vital. Poverty in Norte County means the lack of access to affordable housing, childcare, healthcare, and healthier food options. And like the rest of California, not everyone cares about the people who are affected by this lack. They're usually stereotyped, aren't listened to, and many elected officials aren't invested in their struggles, leaving them trapped in a never-ending cycle of need. Fortunately, a team of young advocates are stopping in towns throughout California, hearing what the poverty-stricken community has gone through and making a difference in return. The nonprofit organization E.P.I.C aims to end poverty in California by changing policy agendas and narratives. The E.P.I.C team is currently conducting listening sessions all throughout the state, hearing people's stories, testimonies, and ideas on policy. A couple months ago, on September 28, 2023, E.P.I.C, True North Organizing Network, RX Safe Del Norte, and community members met in the McNulty House in Crescent City to discuss poverty in our county.
I think one of the things that I'm hearing a lot is we don't address problems until it's downstream, until it affects our eyesight, right? Until I think one of the, not to keep going back to the listening session we had last night, but there's just been so many learnings that we've had over the last week. And it feels like there's a real pattern of people don't care until it crosses their sight line.
Right.
And if only we address upstream causes, like education, like housing, like providing a bare floor for income, like nutrition, all these things. One, we have better outcomes. For the fiscal conservatives, we save money doing that. We actually have a more humane society. But I think the question then is, what does prevention look like? If we're trying to stop all these things from metastasizing and getting worse and worse, what do we do today to stop, 10 years from now, kids being in a bad situation?
They can't just, you can't do sticky notes. You have to have a program, but you have to have a huge umbrella where you're going to help everyone at the same time. Then only we can bring up this whole change.
Just underneath that, it would help to have people that guide through these processes, okay? Because there's all these resources, but when you're in this situation, there are none. There are none. We don't know how to find them. We don't have phones. We can't call around. There are no service in these homeless camp areas. They get so it's almost like being institutionalized. They get scared to come out here.
Really?
Yes.
They're labeled. Even going to the doctor, you can't get services.
It's we're back to stigma.
Redwood Voices Monique Camarena here. I asked the E.P.I.C organization's president, Devin Gray, a few questions about what they do and what was talked about at this listening session.
Hi, I'm Devin Gray. I'm the president of an organization called End Poverty in California, and we're here in Crescent City in Del Norte County talking to community members from True North Organizing and from RX Safe Del Norte. Yeah, we're a nonprofit organization. We're about 18 months old now. We've got a team of about 8 or 9 people. E.P.I.C's been touring the state over the last 2 years, talking to people in communities, having conversations just like this. And we're going all over. Our goal is to go to as many communities as we can and as diverse communities as we can, because California is a massive state. We have 40 million people and 40 million stories, and it's important that our policy advocacy is reflective of the breadth of stories that exist in California. So that's why we're up here and why we've been spending the last week across this region of the state. We were in Redding yesterday. We were in Weed and Siskiyou County the day before, as well as Red Bluff, which is in Tehama County. We're going to be in Eureka tomorrow. But the point of this is that it's important that the story of poverty in California encompasses everyone's experience and not just people in the big cities or anywhere else. So we're in the far north. We're trying to learn what's happening here, what rural poverty looks like in California, because when we're lobbying for bills, it's important that these perspectives are taken into account as well.
What did you discuss in Del Norte's listening session?
We discussed a lot of things about the experiences that people are facing, the struggles that exist in Crescent City and throughout the county and the region. And there were so many takeaways. I think I learned a lot about the importance of state policy really being customized and responsive to people at the local level to make sure that what we're doing in government is actually working for the people that it's trying to serve. And the importance of people who are experiencing poverty today being an active stakeholder in the development of public policy to, again, be responsive to their needs.
You say, you know, the people who is going to make a difference, who is going to, me being an outsider to this county, the people that I see that are where I come from, and I come from a very extensive background, those people that I thought were supposed to be in the position to make different changes and everything are the same type of and I guess I'll call it a stigma, but like I said, there's generational gaps. There's houseless, there's working, and there's people with more wealth, okay? The people with more wealth are the ones who are making decisions or not making decisions for, like exactly what I said. They're either going to come with the good old boys club because they're just going to pass it around and it's, you know, oh, hey, Bob, you want to do this? No, let's go play, you know, golf. But those are the people that are so far removed from any of us in here, whether you're a school teacher, whether you're an outreach specialist, whether you're in harm reduction, whether you're wherever you are. So the coalition of it, and what I've seen is that
They are elected.
the thing that I've seen is that it's the same in this town. It's the same people doing for change across the board.
Yeah.
If there's a housing crisis, or if there's a homeless crisis, or if there's a food crisis, you're going to see the same people in the positions to try to make that change, regardless if it's in their lane or not.
What does E.P.I.C do, and how do you change state policy?
Yeah, so E.P.I.C does a couple of things. First, we advocate for policies across a range of issues in Sacramento and across a few counties as well, around issues like social safety net reform, around housing, criminal justice, labor protections, and small business and entrepreneurship supports. Then we also do storytelling and narrative change work. So with the idea that the stories and stereotypes about people in poverty, they're not just offensive to our conceptions of self and our dignity, but they also yield really very real policy outcomes as well. So what we try to do is tell an authentic story that's rooted in people's real experiences to ensure that the policies that we're making are responsive to people's truth and not the stereotypes about them.
There's a stigma for people who live in Delaware County.
What is that
Stigma
stigma?
that you're low class, that you're poor,
Really?
if you live in Delaware County. But if you're able to go shopping in Portland or go to Sacramento and go shopping, you're fancy. You're upper class. So there's a huge stigma. And then they break it down in districts. If you live in southern Delaware County, you're either poor or you're native, you're indigenous. Oh, you're Indian, so you must live in Klamath. And then the rich people or the upper class live up on the mountain or along the Smith River. So each, and I'm just saying that because I work with youth, so I'm Bessie Shorty, and I work with your Tribal Court Youth at Risk program, and I serve 10 to 24-year-olds in suicide prevention, intervention, and postvention, and that's what I do when I work with the youth. And if they don't have name brand or this and that, it's very like 20 years behind from what you would see in inner city. If you just listen to our radio station, that shows where the majority mindset is of the residents.
What issues on poverty are you and E.P.I.C passionate about?
To me, it's so many of the things. I think they're all interrelated, and I think what's sort of unique about our organization is that we don't try to just focus on one thing. We sort of recognize that all of these issues are really interconnected. So the same things that are driving the high cost of living and high cost of housing also impact the barriers that we create to access resources like CalFresh and CalWorks. So to me, it's all really related, but I think the most important thing, especially for Californians in a state that has the 4th largest economy in the world and more billionaires than any country in the world aside from the US and China, is that we just make it too expensive for people to live here. And there's a lot of talk about how the cost of living in California is pushing out businesses and pushing out rich people. It's not really true. What's happening is that low and middle income people who really just want a shot at the American dream are leaving California because they can't afford to stay here. So if we want to make this a state that works for everyone, we have to make it affordable for everyone. And that starts with making sure that people have access to the safety net, that people have a chance to have access to high quality jobs and high wages, and that they have a chance to be able to purchase a house and build generational wealth. So all these things are interrelated, but we've got to make sure that California is a state that works for everyone.
And one of the things that I've always been that I actually visually see, and I worked in the school district as well, is obesity in our children in this county is higher than in any other county. And yeah, it is. I was really shocked. I mean, we have like 52 counties, and the obesity, I think health is a huge issue in this county. But what contributes, I think, to the obesity, of course, is the grocery stores that we have. What they actually package in the stores. There's a lot of processed food, a lot of sugar. Yeah. So I think nutrition is lacking, whether it's in our community in general and in the schools as well, I think.
So what steps could be taken to prevent poverty in Del Norte?
Yeah, there's a few things. I think, like many communities, people in Del Norte are facing the housing crisis. And I think by design, there's a housing supply shortage as well, because people don't want to build housing because they don't want certain people in their neighborhoods, and that leads to higher rents and higher mortgages as well. So we've got to make our housing market more fair and accessible for people. We've got to make sure that public education is high quality. We've got to make sure that kids are being fed nutritious meals because it's important for their development as people and as citizens. We've got to make sure that childcare is affordable too. I think for a lot of people, the high cost of childcare is a disincentive from working. You know, we talk a lot about how benefits programs, there's this myth among certain people that if you're on welfare, you're disincentivized from working. But I think the real truth is that if you're living in poverty, it's really hard to work because it's expensive to get to work. It's expensive to find transportation. It's expensive to find childcare. So all these things contribute to sort of this bad set of cycles that actually keep people trapped. So I think childcare was a big thing that we took away from this as well. But just so many things. And the stigma, I think, the stigma and how it ladders up to bad policy outcomes is big too. We talked about people who live in a homeless encampment, what's called colloquially the swamp, and how people are treated because they're living in a bad situation, and the presumptions that are made about them and their worth as people. We've got to stop that, I think. So we have to change the culture to change the policy, and I really think they're both two sides of the same coin.
A lot of the city people think that most of the swamps is full of criminals and addicts and stuff. That's not necessarily true. I live in the swamp.
Okay.
It wasn't by choice.
Yeah.
I've tried to get jobs. I've had jobs. This is more of the only reason why I got hired in my last job was because of a word.
Because of word?
A word. And that's where I was from, Selects. Otherwise, I wouldn't even gotten that job, and I had been here 7 months, living in my car, trying to get a job. So, and we've got people out there that they're not on drugs.
Yeah.
And
it's a huge stigma.
Even to go and get a job, you end up paying people to watch your place. Then you pay someone because you got a pet. You got to pay someone else to go get your water because you can't get the water because you're working.
Yeah.
And you end up in the hole.
Yeah.
Because you just,
Yeah.
you can't make it.
It's a setup for failure.
Talk about that. Yeah.
There is a cycle that, you know, is perpetuated. If I may give a small little testimony, if you will.
Please.
Okay. So I have 5 children. Okay, and we were living at the swamps. Okay, my 5 kids, no power, no water, nothing like that. I was not using. Okay, and I reached out. I reached out for that help. Okay, and then I said, these walls are closing in on me, you know? Next thing I know, I was using. And then they were there to take my children. Okay, so I lost my children. No, it is what it is. And it's been a blessing in and of itself because I was left with my 5 children to no fault of our own. I was supposed to have a partner, whatever, that didn't work out. So I needed a chance to get back on my feet. But the answer I was given when they finally told me why, when I was a few weeks, they let us live there for months and months, right, struggling. And then 3 weeks before they can put us back into, give us homeless assistance in a hotel, right? I needed that answer. Why 3 weeks before? Okay? So they told me it's because we're reactive, not preventative, Talia. That is what they said. Okay? Thank God for organizations like Mission Possible, Del Norte Mission Possible, and Daphne. I mean, I couldn't have done any of this without these programs. I mean, it put everything in front of me, but I seen the cycle of homelessness and drug use and everything. It's just it swallows you. There's no way out. There's no way out once you're in there. So really, I mean, what does it matter where it came from, where the drug use came from, when it started? It started as a kid. I mean, I had a beautiful childhood. I have no reason why I used. I think it was a predisposed condition, or I think I'm saying the right word with that. There was no trauma until later in life, you know, because of the drug use, you know. So there's no one reason why. It's just there needs to be preventative, not just reactive. I got out, but there's so many people that they'll never see their children again because there's no way to for them. So that's all I have.
But you know, a lot of people live up here, and those stories are excluded from the larger California story, and it means that we're not doing our job as advocates and as policymakers if we're not taking everyone into account, because California needs to be for everyone, and everyone who's here and everyone who wants to be here.
Where can we find out more about End Poverty in California?
You can learn more about us on all of our social media platforms and our website as well, endpovertyincalifornia.org. Look us up there. You can learn more about our team and what we're up to. And if you want to have another listening session in your community, just let us know. We'd love to come and visit again. That's it. Upset the setup. That's what we have to do. If people are set up to fail, we have to upset that setup.